One of the men calls up that to tell the captain that Dunfoss has sent an emissary or something, is how he describes you. So by the time you get to the ship and they're hauling everybody aboard and you're climbing up, when you get up onto the deck, Sigurd Tensails is standing before you. And he's a big man. He's over 6 feet tall, very dark skin, bald head, wearing very fine clothes. Very, very colorful adornments. He's got all kinds of jewelry and piercings. And his men have kind of formed up on either side of him, putting together like a makeshift welcoming committee.
Mm-hmm.
And he calls out as you get to the top as you're climbing up. He calls out. He says, "Emissary of Dunfoss, I give you permission to step aboard my ship."
And Lucius will, and he says, I'm afraid you misunderstand. I'm not exactly an emissary of Dunfoss. I'm an investigator. Lucius is my name.
What are you armed with at the moment?
All I have, my spell focus is in my pouch right now, and I just have my book at my side.
Do you still have the fly spell active?
I do, but I'm not currently actively using it. I am standing on the deck.
Okay.
How long does that last? It lasts up to 10 minutes. So I don't know how long that took to get over to the ship itself.
A matter of a couple minutes. It didn't take terribly long.
Okay, so I can bail out if they decide to start getting hostile.
Listen.
Yeah.
Can I just say, I had the whole scene written for when Sigurd made landfall and was going to have his big speech or whatever. And I'm thinking, I don't need a contingency for one of these dumbasses to fly over to his ship before it dies. This is in no way a thing that's going to happen.
Rickroyd, how long have you been playing with us?
How long have we been playing Dungeons and Dragons with us?
Lucius,
yes.
Make a perception check.
You're looking at a 9.
A 9.
My passive perception is much higher than that, but...
No, but I'm expecting you're actively looking around.
Yeah.
Your new surroundings.
Yeah.
Tensails tells you in this very deep voice. This is Lucius of Dunfoss. There are 3 reasons a man might step foot on my ship. The first is he means to conquer me. Do you mean to conquer me, Lucius?
Lucius waves a dismissive hand and says, certainly not.
The second is that he means to join my crew. Shall we put your name in the books?
Respectfully, no. I'm already a member of a crew of sorts already.
Then you must be here for the third reason. To give me a gift. And when he says that, the crew, they're lined up on either side of him, kind of forming a row, a hallway, if you will, between where you're standing at the edge of the boat and where he's standing towards the mainmast. And the men start snickering and laughing and chuckling amongst themselves. And he stands. I do love gifts.
The gift of knowledge, my good sir. The knowledge that not all is well in Dunfoss.
Lucius of Dunfoss, if you can tell me a piece of knowledge that I do not already know, I will give you a platinum bar.
The infiltration of fell creatures from the lower planes in the city that has a being by the name of the Flying Pig that has designs on this place and may have designs on your life or something of that nature.
One of the men calls out, "A flying pig! Pluck him and fry him up, I say." And there's more laughter and chuckling amongst the crew. Sigurd tells you that there's been fiendish influence in Dunfoss going all the way back to the good King Juliana's day. This is not new knowledge to him.
Then, with respect, I'm afraid you have me at a disadvantage.
The men think that's very funny, because he very clearly does. And Sigurd smiles broadly. He says, "Men, what shall we do with our advantage over Lucius?" And the men have a variety of ideas about what can be done. Sigurd bids you step forward.
And I will.
And he puts his arm around you and spins you, wheels you around. So now you're facing the town. Looking off to your left, you see West Harbor. And looking off to your right, you see East Harbor, where the mobs are still bulging forth out towards the water. He says, "Lucius, my men and I were discussing, before you came up, on where in this fine city the Whistler ought to dock. Now, apparently," and he motions forward to High Courts Harbor, where they've clogged up the King's flagship dock. "It seems that the nobility of Dunfoss has its own ideas. I think that's rather presumptuous of them.
I would agree.
But it's been many years since I've stepped foot in Dunfoss, and I fear that the city is a much different place now than it was when my beloved Juliana ruled. So perhaps I ask a native, where ought I bring my vessel?"
Lucius looks around the harbors, and then he points toward West Harbor.
Points towards West Harbor.
Yeah. Clearly, the nobility doesn't have has an inkling that you mean to be presumptuous and take the. I mean, I guess it all boils down to what your intentions are coming back home after so long.
My intentions? And he calls back to the crew, "Boys, educate our dear friend Lucius as to my intentions." And the men on the ship, in unison, in a kind of hip hip hurrah, call out that 10 sail shall be king.
Then, it seems you have only but one course. To take that place that you desire.
You're motioning towards High Courts Harbor?
Yeah.
And he thinks on that for a moment. He says, "Lucius, you have given me advice. And I'm a gracious man. But I'm also a man of law and order." And they're snickering behind him amongst the crew. And he says, "Advice is not a gift. And in the realm of knowledge, we've established that you are at a disadvantage. Now I'm afraid, at this juncture, I must either accept a gift or clap you in irons. The law is the law," and he stands ready to receive a gift.
See, I have not a coin to my name right now.
What are you carrying?
Definitely not my signet ring, because that happened.
Give him your pants.
He looks at himself for a minute, and then he will. Let's see. How exactly does this work? Let me check this feature.
Wait, just look on your character sheet. What's in your inventory?
Yeah, no,
What do you carry?
I'm looking at something. Oh no, this is I'm looking at my my book of ancient secrets. Because what I'm wondering is how
does what?
What happens to my book when it is separated? McDohl might know this because he plays the same kind of warlock that I did in another game.
I think you can just summon it back.
So this is your Tome of your Path of the Tome feature?
Yes. Yeah. Because I have nothing to give him.
Okay.
And so my intention is
so if you lose your Book of Shadows, you can perform a 1-hour ceremony to receive a replacement from your patron.
Okay. And it destroys the old
And it destroys the previous book. Make a wisdom check.
Those 10 sales know that.
That is not great.
All right, well, are you going to give him the book?
Well, my intention is to make a show of peacefully surrendering my spell focus and the book.
But what is your spell focus, first of all?
It is a crystal orb.
A crystal orb?
Yeah.
You're offering him both?
I say, I have nothing on my person to give you at this time. Therefore, it seems I only have one option.
So you're giving him the focus, or are you giving him the book?
My spell.
Okay. You hand him the crystal orb. And he takes it in his hand. And he rolls it from one hand to the other. And he seems to admire the smoothness of it.
He says, and Lucius does say, then, as I have nothing else to give you on my person that would be of any sort of value, therefore, it seems that you only have one option. And he holds his arms forward to be collecting irons.
He looks at you quizzically as he's holding this orb. And you can tell that he knows that it's not worth very much. I mean, spell focus is what? Like, it's just a glass ball, more or less.
I mean, it is what qualifies as a weapon for me. And Lucius will explain that.
He says that he accepts your gifts. And he calls forth some of his men. And one of the men comes up from below decks. And you can tell that he's a mage of some kind. He's wearing dark robes. And he's moving and favoring putting a lot of his weight on a gnarled cane. And they take your orb.
Mm-hmm.
And the captain hands it to the man. The man takes it in his left hand, leaning on his gnarled cane in the right. Some other men nearby, looks like they're moving furniture into place. A small table is dragged out, clapped in the middle of the deck. And on it is what looks like... which one is the alembic? Is that like the triangular kind of alchemy jug?
Yeah.
They put this alembic on the center of the table. And the mage holds your spell focus above it. And he takes his other hand, and one of the men behind him reaches out with his own hands and grabs the mage's waist to steady him so he doesn't fall. And he begins speaking some arcane words, and you watch as he reduces your spell focus to this extremely fine powder that drains into the alembic and fills it just marginally along the bottom. And then the captain seems to get... Well, what's your reaction to this? I'll ask first.
I'll be stoked about it. I won't like whine about it or anything.
The captain seems to take great pleasure in watching you watch this happen.
Mm-hmm.
And then he booms out that he also accepts your advice. And he turns and tells the men to plot a course for the King's Dock. one of the things they do is several men run towards the prow of the ship and start working some kind of mechanism. The ship itself has just a small, unassuming wooden prow. Or so you thought, because a compartment opens up in the deck of the ship, and what looks like this large wooden and bronze mass, you think it's hands clasped together at first, comes out, affixes itself to the prow, and extends outwards some. And then you realize they're not clasped hands, but wings. And when another crank is turned, the wings spring forth, revealing this huge, splayed-out phoenix on the front of the ship.
Mm-hmm.
And the ship starts moving into High Quartz Harbor. Seeker and Gus, you are currently leaving High Quartz Harbor.
Yeah, I mean, we wouldn't have gotten far, would we?
No.
Turn around and run back. What's going on?
I'd be like, Seeker, it's
I
not
know what
going
they
to
said-
West Harbor.
You know what they said a moment ago?
All right, let's go. And I'm just gonna full dash that way.
Okay. Alex and Florian, you guys can see the ship is now making its way straight up the center.
That's fine. I'm actually going to see if Scrappy can get me one of the silver coins.
I mean, he'd have to fight somebody for it at this point. I mean, all the coins would have been
Okay.
snatched up.
Okay.
Unless he was going to grab one up while they were throwing them initially.
Yeah, just one of the silvers. Hopefully.
Okay,
people
yeah,
be-
you can
people
have-
be grabbing the golds.
You can have a silver piece.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull out one of my smith's tools and kind of just start scraping through it and see if it's silver the whole way through.
Okay. You're going to destroy the coin in the process.
Yeah, sure.
And, yeah, it's a real silver coin.
Not anymore.
Okay.
It's real money.
Well,
Yeah.
I'll put the two halves in my pouch to make a new coin out of it later, and I guess I'll head over to High Court.
This dumb fuck's going to go somewhere, and they're going to be like, oh, yeah, you owe me 2 copper, and he's going to pull out half of the silver coin.
What are they blocking the King's Dock with?
Boats.
Yeah,
They got
nobles
boats.
have smaller
Yeah.
boats and vessels, 5 or 6 of which have pulled up along the King's Dock. The idea of, they're trying to block the area off, like a little blockade.
You
So-
mean like
Sort
You
of
mean
like how car dealerships put cars in the way.
Yes,
but,
exactly.
like what size wise? You mean like dinghies to like small leisure, like something like a speedboat would be on a lake, right?
Right, like smaller craft that's just good for the waters in and around Dunfoss. These are
Who
not...
looks like he has the most expensive one of those small boats?
Well, when the ship starts coming in your direction, you see some of these groups of nobilities quickly scatter. 2 of them, you see their servants will actually man the vessels that are forming part of the blockade and get out of the way.
Does anyone look like he can't move his vessel?
I mean, there's a lot of flurry of activity down there. There's not like any of them can't. It's more of a question of looks like they won't.
So one of the ones that looks like they won't, one of the ones with like one of the more expensive ships, I want to get my way down to them.
Okay, make an investigation check. So you're going to have to figure out which man belongs to which boat.
Yeah, who's not going?
Well,
to.
I'm sorry, let me ask. Are you trying to approach the servants, the ones who had brought the boats out here initially, or try to figure out which
No,
nobleman
I want to go to
owns
which
the boat?
man owns which boat.
Gotcha.
Noble.
Yeah, make an investigation check.
That is a 25.
Well, I go to fantasynamegenerators.com.
Just so I understand.
Yeah.
This boat, the Whistler, is going to ram all of these boats together.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
What is okay?
That is what's happening here.
That is exact, okay.
Yeah.
Florian wants a front row seat.
Now somebody hasn't realized that yet, and they're about to owe me a lot of money.
Florian wants a front row seat to the spectacle. So
Birch-
wherever in East Harbor or High Courts, that gives a really good view.
Bertrand Mombert. Mombert sounds like a Douglas Adams character.
Humbert, mother of humans.
Mombert and Sons.
Right. So, Seeker, you're approaching the nobility that owns one of these. Just little, I mean, leisure craft. You wouldn't really have people with leisure craft, but like a decent sized fishing vessel that probably this noble house uses to go out and take a day's catch and bring it in now and again. And he seems unconvinced. He feels like obviously 10 Sails is bluffing. There's no way he can get his boat into this dock without damage, and it would be an affront to king and country for him to to not do his duty and stand in 10 sails way.
So do we just holler at him?
Oh, I'm walking up to him.
Yeah, you walk up to him.
And I say, my lord, I'm going to give you some free advice as a show of faith. And then if you don't take my advice, I'm going to do you a service.
He asks who the hell you are.
And Seeker gives a wide bow and says, the Seeker in the Dark, nay of Flumph. You may have heard of us in the area. We stopped a cult of devil worshippers.
It's a Seeker in the Dark. It sounds like you are a devil worshipper.
And Seeker just smiles and then says, that man over there is about to ram your boat.
And he shakes his head. So this man's opinion is there's no way for 10 sails to do that without also damaging the Whistler, and that 10 sails is too arrogant a man to damage his own craft. That's his feeling right now.
And Seeker nods at that because that was the advice, and he says, and the service I'll do for you is, once you decide that man's about to ram your boat for a suitable fee or a favor in kind, I'll move your boat for you.
He asks how you intend to do that.
And Seeker, takes out, a sheet of paper and starts drawing some numbers and says, there's a spell called Levitate, and you see it can used to provide a certain amount of force.
Where the
Now, normally that force is
Gus?
used to go straight upwards.
Gus, where are you at?
I'm next to him, laughing. I'm not laughing. I'm straight, just stoic face.
Seeker, the Mumbert interrupts you, tells you he does not give you leave to move his boat anywhere, and if you do, he'll see you dungeoned up.
Sir.
And Seeker nods again and then says, and when you change your mind, let me know. And Seeker turns to look for another man who would perhaps be more reasonable.
Okay.
While he's doing that, I say, sir, I would take his advice. And he points at it, that's a working pirate ship. They ram other boats all the time.
Wait a minute. Are you the assholes that sold me that Warlock insurance?
No, Lucius isn't here.
No, that was an entirely different group of assholes.
I have
And
never
when
worked
Seeker
for him.
turns to walk away, he gives him a business card first.
Okay. The Whistler moves forward under the power of men below decks rowing. They're not raising their sails in the harbor. Moves forward enough that you can see 10 sails, the captain, step up with his phoenix is emblazoned on the front of the craft. And Seeker, looking at it, and Gus as well, doesn't look like you could ram anything with this bird. It's not the right shape. It's not jutting out in front of the ship. It's not aerodynamic at all. Lucius, 10 Sails asks if you would like to stand before the people of Dunfoss when he makes his proclamation. Let them see a citizen stand by me.
I'm not exactly a citizen of Dunfoss. I'm a citizen of Kiska.
He tells you that shithole already has a king. Last he checked.
I didn't come to you on behalf of Dunfoss. I came to you on behalf of my organization, Flumph Inc.
And at that, he turns around and steps back up. So he's standing aboard up on top of Lucius. From where you are, you can see built into the back of this phoenix structure is a place, like a little platform, just big enough for him to stand.
Mm-hmm.
And he stands up there, and he calls out into High Courts Harbor. I count 8 boats moored at my docks. What sounds fair? 20 minutes to move them? And there's grumbling and yelling back at him from the harbor. And you can see 10 Sails is no small amount of amused by this, and he calls out, "Very well."
Lucius is kind of amused as well from where he's standing.
Calls out, "Very well. 10 minutes. And then I burn them." And he turns and steps back aboard the deck.
Sorry, did he say he's going to burn them or ram them? You cut out there.
He says he's going to burn them.
Burn them.
He did say burn them. Okay.
Lucius looks a little wide-eyed and says, "I don't know if destruction of property is as warranted in this situation."
He tells you, he says, well, technically, the crystal ball was a gift. It was my property that I destroyed.
Lucius gestures out to the eight ships that he's about to nuke and say, "Hey, look, no, that's not what I was referring to. I was referring to that. What I had is a trifle, nothing that can't be replaced."
And you're very clearly presenting as a nobleman, yes? Like you wear your nice
Yeah.
clothes out and about.
Yeah, wearing his nice clothing. Yeah.
He tells you it's all about whose property you intend to destroy. Seeker, make me a persuasion check at advantage.
And Seeker at this point is sending Gus to go look for something they can wrap a rope around.
Okay.
Yep.
I mean, there's no shortage of places where you can tie off a rope on a dock.
That's a 16.
Okay.
And Seeker is, at this point, talking to kind of the crowd, and then saying, anybody who can get a man on a ship, I'm going to toss a rope around that pillar. My man over there is going to pull on it, and we're going to drag these boats out of the way.
And as you're giving these instructions, Mombert has had an abrupt change of heart. And wants to know how much to levitate his ship out of the way.
It's very reasonable.
At the moment, my lord, the gold isn't really worth as much to as your well regard. Well,
Gus,
come to call on you at some point for a favor.
Gus looks at Seeker like he's growing a second head.
No, trust me on this one.
500 gold.
We can kill things for gold. We don't need gold as much.
Okay.
I'd like to point out we're like 35,000 gold in debt.
All right.
Right, which is a number so high as to be meaningless.
So right on your character sheet that you have Bertrand Bombert's favor.
And then anyone else who's willing to I'll join in. I've got... How many of these casts do I have? I have 5 casts, so 5 of these 8 boats are getting saved.
Oh, can't you move it to a different target?
No.
Oh, you can't? Oh, I thought it was a spell you could do that.
So you're going to levitate one boat, and then...
I can levitate one boat at a time, and you're going to need to drag it in. Basically what I'm doing is I'm making it light enough in the water that you can pull it. But we're relying on the water helping us out here.
So the target can't weigh more than 500 pounds.
I can't levitate more than 500 pounds. That's the distinction I'm trying to make. Is that, like, we're just lightening the boat, and then he's dragging it. We're not actually trying to send it flying into the air.
Doing some Yoda shit.
So let's find out if a fishing boat weighs more than 500 pounds.
Oh yeah, I mean, if it weighs less than 500 pounds, then I can just pick it up and move it.
Depends on what kind of fishing boat, I suppose.
Yeah.
So when you woke up this morning thinking about this session and how it was going to go...
Oh yeah, no. I didn't expect one of us... I could tell you that, like, if somebody told me that one of us decided to cast fly on themselves and land on a pirate ship, it wouldn't have been... I wouldn't have thought it would have been Lucius.
The way he sees it, he's under the law of the sea right now, and that's fine.
So you can't target one of these boats. Like, the smallest numbers I'm seeing are 1,500 pounds for a wooden fishing boat. That's the smallest I'm seeing.
I can't even target it? My impression was that it wouldn't lift it, but it would provide some force.
It says the spell can levitate a target that weighs up to 500 pounds.
Oh, that wasn't how I was reading it.
That's literally what the spell says.
No, I get it. It's just we've used it to provide force before. I was trying to be clever. Can I target part of the boat?
What part?
Let's target the
Target the mast. The rest of the boat's used to that part pushing on it.
Yeah, exactly. If I target the mast, then we can still try to drag it. It'll provide 500 up, and then you'll have to move 500. And it's resting on the water, so it should be a little lighter, Gus.
I mean, being on the water doesn't make it lighter. I'm not real sure how this is supposed to work.
I guess
I'm trying to let Gus make a strength check to drag a boat. He can't move 1,500, but if I can lighten it, then maybe he can move that. That's my hope.
Levitate won't serve to lighten an object, though. It doesn't reduce an object's weight at all.
What's the actual rules on dragging things?
I don't think there are any. You can lift an amount. There's a table of how much you can deadlift.
You can push, pull, you can push, drag, or lift a weight in pounds up to twice your carrying capacity, or 30 times your strength score.
Okay. So what is that for Gus?
While pushing or dragging weight in excess of your carrying capacity, your speed drops to 5 feet.
Okay.
That's all it says. So that'd be 18 times 5.
Which is?
I don't know. Math?
Why do I have to do all the math around here?
I'll do it. It's just they gotta give me time to get it up, you know? That was not sexual. That's 90 pounds.
90
pounds.
Yeah.
That seems kind of low.
There's no way you can only lift 18 times 90 pounds.
No,
You have to be reading that wrong.
Capacity.
Your carrying capacity is much larger than that.
Oh, right.
Your carrying capacity is... I forget how to calculate it because it's not something that we actually typically use.
My compare. It's right here. Hold on.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. 540 pounds. It's right here. I can move 540 pounds.
Okay.
Push, drag, or lift 540 pounds.
Okay.
So you guys could probably target like a smaller, like a tiny rowboat or something with levitate, and Gus could easily move a rowboat or even two of them roped together.
No, yeah, I was misreading how the spell worked. My thought was it was providing force upwards, and then he provides the pull, so you could subtract them. But if that's not how you're reading it, then this isn't going to work.
I'm reading it the way it's written.
No, I'm not arguing. I'm
Okay.
just saying it's not going to work. So let's see if I can do something else clever.
Okay.
I could get on the boat and row it out of the way.
What are Alex and Florian doing with this 10 minutes?
Oh, Florian is just watching with great interest.
So I'm still from
He
East
wants
Harbor?
to see this collision happen. He wants to see the fireworks go off.
You're watching from East Harbor? You're watching from a safe distance away? Because Alexander looks like he's getting
yeah.
closer and closer.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna... Can I get up on a roof in High Courts?
Well, when you get to the gate into High Courts
Uh-huh.
Harbor, it's guarded by moss caps.
Mhm.
A double-sized patrol, so 6 men. And they tell you that, basically they bar you entry.
Yeah.
Through the gate. They tell you just be on your way.
I'll tell them that I am the son of the ambassador to Deep Murkseth,
Make a
and I'm interested in seeing the ship come into port.
make a persuasion check.
I have a way dumber solution.
Good.
No.
That's a 10.
A 10?
Yep.
They have no idea what Deep Murkseth is. And Alexander, are you like carrying yourself as a noble or somebody with clout?
Not really.
Okay. Yeah, they have no idea what Deep Murkseth is, and they are still disinclined to allow you entry. They're trying to keep the crazy mobs out of this section of High Courts.
Is there a wall around all of High Court?
There is.
How hard would it be to climb up that wall, like getting on a building in the marking district?
Probably not difficult, but...
Is the wall being patrolled?
I would say I would allow you to make a stealth check at advantage because of all the commotion going on everywhere to get up
Sure.
and over the wall unnoticed.
Yeah, so I'm gonna station Scrappy over here.
Okay.
Just let him hang out, and then I will try that stealth check. The advantage will cancel out my armor.
Oh, you're still wearing your armor.
Well, I haven't had any money. That's 9.
Haven't had any money is just the theme of this whole campaign.
Haven't had any money to buy the medium armor that doesn't impose disadvantage.
God, I can't believe I didn't think of this first, because this is so much dumber.
You're not able to get up and over the wall unnoticed,
Uh-huh.
but it's not the moss caps that notice you. It's one of these noblemen. As you're coming up over the wall in between two manor houses, you kind of have to sneak across his lawn. I mean, he calls out at you, "Hey there, trespasser, what are you doing?" as you come over the wall and dart across the lawn to the road.
How old is he?
That old man. I mean, you don't have to
Oh,
stop.
sorry. Is this a private lawn? I thought this was the main parkway.
He asks if you're simple.
Depends. And I'll throw him a gold piece. Sorry about the trespass, my mistake. And I'll continue along my way.
You're like the politest, like, petty vandal in Dunfoss.
What's he gonna do? Report me to the guards that I gave him a gold?
Seeker, what is this new dumb idea you have?
Okay, instead, and thank you, Destil, for reminding me to take this spell.
Oh no.
I am going to spend the next 3 minutes casting Phantom Steed 3 times,
Oh no.
which each have enough strength to add another. I think it's like 450 pounds of force,
Okay.
and then we are going to drag these boats out of the way.
3 more of the boats in the harbor vacate the area. Are you
Yeah.
prioritizing Mombert's boat?
Oh, Mombert, and then anyone else who's willing to offer me a favor. If someone just stands there being like, "Well, I'm not gonna.
So
I don't need your help."
here's
Their
the-
boat's thin to rot.
here's the difficulty: is you hire in these steeds and you get ropes looped around them, and people see what you're doing. A few of the other nobles that are in the area who, for some reason or other, don't have enough men to send down to move the boats, especially in the commotion. There's just not a whole lot of physical space for boats to move out of the way at this point without crashing into each other. It becomes apparent that between Gus and your steeds, you can move one of these boats in the time that you have.
Oh, well, that's Mombert.
So you're
Okay.
gonna go with Mombert, even though the others are also begging. And
And I
Numbers.
say I'm sorry, but I can't betray my client like that.
Gus,
Mm-hmm.
you're going along with this? Even though they're starting to shout that they'll give you 50, 70, 200 gold pieces?
Again, I'm like,
save
I
my boat
can't-
instead?
I can't pull the boat by myself.
No, but you
It's-
got
I
three
got
Phantom Steeds now.
right. They belong to the short one. So it's not me they have to convince.
Excellent. I'm going to look up one price real quick to see if I can tempt you away from Mombert.
Am I able to get up onto one of the roofs by the water?
Yes, easily
Okay.
enough.
Gus's inclination is not to take the price, even if it's like this man's like 1 million gold, because we have already signed a contract. Well, even if it is just a,
It's a handshake agreement.
It's
even
a
if it's
verbal
just a
contract.
right, because in this business, all you have is your reputation.
200 gold pieces is the highest offer you get.
No,
And you're not... Okay.
That's not worth our reputation.
Yeah,
Where do you drag Mombert's boat to?
out of the way.
Out of the way, so... Lucius.
Yes.
A couple of the men work some more mechanisms near the prow of the ship. And as the ship rows forward, you hear the men below deck, a drum banging in time, keeping the boat moving. And Florian and Alex, you also both have great views from the sidelines of great gouts of flame shooting forth from the mouth and the spread wings of this phoenix, engulfing several of the boats. One of them is very slowly moving without a crew, away from the dock, back into the harbor and alongside the flood wall. And there's a lot of shouting, and there's a lot of commotion on the docks back and forth. A lot of very angry people. Gus.
Uh-huh.
Do Phantom Steeds have, like, hit points or something?
I don't know if they can be attacked.
They're only quasi-real.
They're only quasi-real.
What do they look
They
like?
they do use the statistics of a riding horse, so they do have 13 hit points.
Okay.
They take quasi-real damage.
So, Gus,
Yep.
when the angry households of the nobles that Seeker turned down descend upon you and these horses, what do you do?
I yell at them to get the hell. I try to intimidate them away.
Okay, make a strength intimidation check.
That is.
Is there like a popcorn vendor here in East Harbor?
Sounds like a market you should get into.
If any of them have rowboats, I can deal with those.
That is a 16.
A 16?
Yeah.
So, I mean, one of them gets a dagger and comes out. Not a dagger, a club, most likely. And starts bludgeoning one of these phantom horses. And you have to thump him to the ground. And the other ones get the hint after that. And you manage to save Mombert's boat. The other boats in the area go up in flames for just a moment. And as they burn...
Nobody died, though, right?
No, nobody was hurt.
Oh, well,
The flames were very focused. They came out in gouts in particular directions. This boat, then this boat, then this boat.
yeah, we've seen this before. It's Age of Empires flame galleon.
And then the Whistler moves forward into the King's Dock. And Lucius standing there, Ten Sails looks very pleased with himself.
Can we see Lucius in
No.
his dumb, stupid face?
Lucius chose not to step up onto the prow with Ten Sails.
Okay.
Yep. Lucius stands behind and says, I mean, not how I would have handled it were I in your shoes, Captain, but it is a way to handle it.
That is a statement, though. He made a hell of a statement.
Brick or anyone, actually.
Okay.
Can you refresh my memory on how the new king is chosen?
It's a vote.
It's a rotating system, and right now it's the Court of the Commons that gets to choose.
Yep. It's basically like if
Got it.
Congress
Thank you.
got to pick the president.
Yeah, it's like one time the Senate gets to pick, one time Congress gets to pick,
Got it.
or the House gets to pick.
So, Ten Sails booms out. There are some common folk, servants, other people that have climbed the walls or got through the gates before the moss caps locked them down. They got into the harbor, and sailing men from other vessels that are currently moored in the harbor. And Ten Sails seems to address them. And he calls out to them that he understands that in the coming days and perhaps weeks, he's led to believe that Maximilian is still your king. But Maximilian is frail, and his days are not as long as his beard. And he's led to understand that it will be you, the common people of Dunfoss, that will choose your next king. This seems to be a great responsibility that you have. And so I call upon you, sir, and he points down to just a random servant on the dock and says, in a manner of speaking, does it not make you a king? And he points at a sailing man on the other side. Or you, sir, are you not a king amongst the people of Dunfoss? And then he points at a random, heavily armored jabroni carrying 6 boats on a rope. Points out, or this strapping lad here. Is it not his voice that will select the next king?
Is he pointing at me?
Oh, he is.
One boat, 3 horses.
I'm picturing those commercials of Jason Alexander and the pretzels.
Gus, right now you are the most like visually focused like thing happening on this flood wall.
Uh-huh.
So Ten Sails begins to address you. He says, tell me, young man, do you feel like a king?
Gus looks at him and looks to the left, looks to the right, because he doesn't believe he's being addressed. And then he points at himself, and he says,
You with the pretzels.
He laughs, and he's making a big show of laughing. Like, he's booming out. His voice is carrying over this crowd. And he says, See, you peasants, you serving folk, you downtrodden, so beaten are you, so lowly, that a man does not even know when he's being spoken to in Dunfoss.
and then Gus gets mad and says, Oi! And he makes a rude gesture at him.
Lucius, from up on the deck of the Whistler, there is a roar of laughter. Not a dragon's roar, just a regular roar.
Is it as loud as a lion can roar?
That's enough out of you. He calls down. Says, My hold is full of treasure, of years of adventure and conquest on the ocean. I say to you all that Dunfoss is not the land that I've sailed away from. If I am chosen as your next king and placed upon your throne, every man and woman of Dunfoss will receive 50 gold pieces. He says, I will buy your throne to bring the city back to greatness. And he points out to the noblemen mourning the loss of their burned ships along the dock. He says, they will know what it is like to be downtrodden and lowly. Do we get any reaction out of any of you when he finishes his little speech?
Gus looks kind of nonplussed by the whole thing because he's a thief. He goes out on the ocean and steals from people, so you know.
So here's the thing: the people he's addressing are servants and sailing men, but they're all kind of in the employ of various noble houses, which means they know which side of their bread is buttered. And Lucius, you get kind of an elbow to the gut. He says, it's probably not the captain's intended audience. Wouldn't you say?
No, probably not.
Are there any people that I can see around here that look like commoners that that got in over the wall or anything like that?
Oh yeah, no difficulty spotting them. And those that you do spot, they seem to really like the idea of just being paid by a pirate captain to be allowed to come into Dunfoss and take the throne. I mean, 50 gold pieces is a lot of...
Are they trying to get a better view of the ship, or are they going out to spread the word within the city?
Nobody's left yet.
Okay.
If that's what you mean.
Would the moss caps even let him leave?
Seeker's using the shock of everyone standing around to pass out business cards and say the next time that they need someone who values loyalty and can think quickly on their feet, they know who to come to.
The captain calls out, and he points to some of the various just manor houses and things that are located back in beyond the harbor. And he says that he's going to need a comfortable place to a man befitting his station and his appetite. This is the first among you, families of Dunfoss, owners of these houses, that offer to house me and a party of my men will receive my favor. Seeker, you're passing out business cards to people, and very suddenly they have something far more interesting to pay attention to. As some of these noblemen are starting to call out to Ten Sails, you can sleep in my house. I have a fine room and a heated jacuzzi and mini bar.
I have a boat you can sleep on. Wait, never mind.
And they're starting to bid, more or less, for the man's favor.
Yeah, Lucius is kind of like, this is the kind of thing that you would expect from the nobility of any city.
The captain selects his choice, one of the noblemen, who is offered to give him some sort of payments. Offered to throw him a feast on his first nights. It's the likes that he's never seen. Captain seems satisfied. Steps down from the prow. The men start to lay out the ropes, pull up the gangplanks so they can start unloading things from the ship. And he stops in front of Lucius. Says, what organization did you say you represent?
Flumph Inc., sir.
And he narrows his eyes a little bit. And he asks why you selected a Flumph to represent this organization.
To be perfectly honest, that was my associate Alexander's decision, I think. I'm not exactly sure who came up with it.
We can blame Destil, yeah.
He asks you if you know why he called his ship the Whistler.
I've heard rumors that your ship does produce a very eerie sound with the wind.
So when a man asks me why my ship is called the Whistler, I have an answer for him.
Fair point. We'll have to come up with, we'll have to think on that. Provided I'm not, I'm not locked in your hold.
Lucius, up from below decks,
Yes.
two of these men start leading. I mean, they're starting to unload boxes, and lots of cargo is starting to come out as the process of unloading the ship is starting to take place. Lots and lots of commotion up and down along the dock. And up from below deck, two of the men are leading up a long ramp that opens up onto the main deck. Two enormous war horses with glorious golden manes. Stunning, stunning creatures. And the captain watches kind of nonchalantly as the men are starting to lead these war horses up onto the deck and down the gangplank onto the docks.
Handsome beasts. What kind of must have been difficult to keep them healthy in such conditions.
He tells you that the last man that presumed to step aboard his ship uninvited gave him the pair as a gift.
I see.
And with that, he directs you to the gangplank. He says, Lucius, I believe our time is at an end. Go forth, my friend, and tell everyone the story about how you boarded the Whistler and lived to tell the tale. Tell the story right, and you'll never have to buy your own drinks again.
But I must insist that at a time and place of your choosing, you may please call upon call upon Flumph Inc.
He shakes his head. He says, I choose no time and no place. You are a man of
Very
no
well, then.
importance. I mean you no ill will, but if you stand before me much longer, I'm afraid something bad might happen. And the men around you begin to chuckle and chortle.
Fair enough. And Lucius, can I wait until some of the stuff has already been moved off, so I'm not going out with a crowd that's all crowding around this place?
Probably not going to happen. There's going to be a crowd around these docks for quite some time.
Okay.
Oh, I
then
mean,
will
Seeker's
just-
standing there watching with his three giant, or rather large, I'm sorry, cats with wings. They have saddles that say Flumph Inc. on the side.
Okay. What is Florian doing at
Lucius,
this
yeah.
point?
Yeah, Lucius goes down to there.
Well, after the whole thing crashed and burned down and all that jazz, Florian would try to make his way into High Courts.
Okay. Going through the gate or coming up over the wall?
Let's say over the wall.
Okay. Go ahead and make a stealth check.
Because it's the shortest distance. Stealth, huh?
Yep.
Are you even trying to be stealthy?
Not really.
Well, whether he is or not, this is the opposed check that I can use to see if he
11.
noticed. All right. There's an enormous crowd built up around the gates in between East Harbor and High Courts Harbor. Just a massive, massive mob. And you're pretty easily able to shoulder your way through and get up and over the wall.
Oh, cool.
Into a part of the harbor on the other side. It's just there's maybe 10 moss caps trying to keep 300 people from getting into the gates. And you and Alexander and Seeker and Gus, where are you all convening at this point?
I mean, like, Gus is going to yell obscenities at Lucius when he sees him walking down the gangplank.
So by the time Alex and Florian get over to the harbor, you do see Lucius coming down the gangplank.
He does have a little bit of a David Tennant swagger coming down the gangplank.
Push him off.
Lucius.
And he walks up. Yeah.
Hi, how are you?
Hi.
Make a dexterity saving throw.
Alright, when I said push him off, I wasn't being serious.
You said it so weird, it threw me off.
Dexterity?
Dexterity.
That's an 8.
An 8.
Yeah.
That's not what you want.
No.
No, not
No.
really.
Okay. There's my stat block.
Was it against magic or a foot?
Lucius, that's not too bad. Take 1 point of piercing damage.
Okay.
There are screams from the docks, from all around, from the crowds, as somewhere behind Lucius, where you guys have watched these 2 glorious golden war horses led off onto the dock, starting to come up the dock, but they're being led by 2 of 10 sailing men. And suddenly you see their bodies buck and convulse. And shooting out in several directions behind them, these horrible black spines erupt through their skin, one of which launches forward and kills one of the men who were leading the creatures down the gangplank. A couple of them shoot into the crowd. One of them kind of skirts across Lucius's shoulder and leaves his shoulder bloody. And that's where we will go ahead and roll some initiative.
Sure. Lucius turns around, sees this, and he's like, yeah, that looks about to be about right.
So, Lucius.
Yes, sir.
I have to rearrange some stuff on this map because you guys weren't supposed to come into High Courts Harbor. So I'm going to move the little procession
Hey.
kind of back here-ish.
So
Lucius, you would be making your way up this dock, up towards wherever, and I will let the rest of you place yourself wherever you'd like to be on this map.
I think we would be about here. Seeker.
Yeah, I
might
was up
get-
on. Actually, I was kind of adjacent, so I'm gonna say I was up over on this roof.
Okay, that's fine. Now, just a quick...
Would you say where you are, Gus?
I was like, we would be moving the boat out of the way.
So like over here?
Yeah, so like on this little dock over here.
Are these 5 or 10 foot squares?
These are 5-foot squares.
Okay.
So, the white tokens are innocent, easily slaughtered bystanders.
Okay.
The green tokens are moss caps.
Mhm.
A couple of them, there's 2 moss caps standing right in the thick of things here, as they're kind of standing guard next to the ship. The moss caps look very confused before these creatures started convulsing and transforming, and when they're done transforming, they look like horribly, horribly angry warhorse-sized porcupines.
I didn't mean to pick you up. I'm sorry.
It's okay, I'm going over there anyway.
With these beautiful golden quills. But instead of little stubby porcupine hands, they have what looks like their foreclaws are enormous bear claws. And it looks like they're going to start ripping everybody to shreds. And that's where we will pick it up when we come back from our break. Let me just put them on the initiative order here. So let's take a 15-minute break. I'm gonna take my dogs outside. You guys can go get your artisanal avocado coffee or whatever the hell